ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोर्श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेषु भिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदयादिकवये मुह्यन्ते यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 1, Text number 7. 6 actually. So we were reading the answer which was given by Sukadeva Goswami to the doubt which was raised by Parikshit Maharaj about Priyavrat, son of Manu, that how is it that he who was Atmarama and a Bhagavata, complete devoted to Lord Krishna, how is that he accepted the post of a king, got into family life? Because these two things don't go together. If your mind is fixed on Krishna completely, then there is no scope that one can run a kingdom, which needs a lot of attention, politics, maneuvering with people. You want to get some attention from people, it's not easy. Because everybody thinks differently, everybody has their own desires, their own goals. How to get these people to follow you, it's a very difficult job. So unless two people have the same goal, why would they work together? That's why in Kali Yuga it is very difficult to cooperate, because everybody has got different ideas. In the previous days, people had less ideas. Too many ideas were not available. Because there was no internet, there was no television, no radio. So children have to listen only to the parents. And whatever ideas the parents put into the mind, that's the only idea they have. And the parents will obviously put in the ideas what they have. So there was very little chance of disobeying. Now from the very beginning, the children, they are learning on their own. This was also the reason that previously children were able to respect their parents because they learned from the parents. And because they learned from them, they had respect for them. Now they learn from so many places. And they may know many things which the parents don't know. Previously they knew what the parents knew. So it was easy to control them. And they were also more pliable and obedient. Because they had this obviously same genes, same ideas, they're eating the same food, living together. So now things have changed, and that's why it is very difficult to have cooperation with anybody. Whether it's parents and children or husband and wife, brothers and sisters, there is very little cooperation. Now if somebody is absorbed in thoughts of Krishna and he has to get cooperation from others, it is a big headache. And he has to give up his absorption. So therefore this question was raised by Parikshit Maharaj, that how is it that Priyavrata, who was completely devoted to Krishna, had no other thoughts in his mind, he could accept kingdom and be a family person. Just to be absorbed in family itself is quite demanding, but to speak if you have to run a kingdom. So Sukadeva Goswami, he is answering it now. And it's a very interesting episode because it has some practical value in it. So first thing he said that yes, what you are saying is right. Usually a person who is absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, he will not take to anything material because he has no mind for that. And then he said that sometimes it is possible because of some obstacle, and that obstacle, as Vishwanath Chakravarti explained very nicely, is possible only because of offense. Because the devotees, they are not influenced by their karma. Karma does not have the power to influence a devotee. Time does not have the power to influence a devotee. Like many times people say Kali Yuga Prabhu, that it is because of Kali Yuga. So devotee is not influenced by Kali Yuga or any Yuga. Time has no influence on him. He is beyond. Because time is material and he is transcendental. Karma is material, he is also not influenced by that. But one thing which can influence is if he commits an offense. So of course offense is also not transcendental, but offense is of the very word offense means that he is creating an obstacle to devotion himself. He is doing something which will block devotion. It is his own act, because offense means that which is against devotion. So that's what he said. And then one more reason, he gave two reasons. Another is that sometimes it is desire of the Lord that he wants to teach to people of this world that how a devotee can take responsibility in the world, so that they can see somebody as an ideal and as an example. Or he wants to increase the love of his devotee, therefore he puts some obstacle, then devotee feels very much devoid of devotion in his heart, he feels separation, and then he becomes more devoted. So it's like when you don't get food, then you have too much desire for food, your thoughts are only on the food when you fast. So it's like fasting. He makes him fast from bhakti, then his desire for bhakti becomes more. So it is for two reasons he does it. Either he wants to increase the hunger for devotion, or he wants to give instruction to others. Then Lord may put seemingly an obstacle to his devotee. He may put him in some trouble or some trying situation, so to say. So when it is an offense created by devotee himself because of his or her wrong action, then there are two possibilities. That one is that that person has to suffer the consequence of that offense, and that may be for a very long period, for many years, or maybe lifetimes, who knows. Or if he or she can ask forgiveness from the person who is offended and that person is pleased, then there is no reaction to it. So he gave the example of Dvivida, who offended Lord Lakshmana, and he has to suffer for a very long time, have wrong association with Bhaumasura, and ultimately was killed by Lord Balaram. And the other is the example of King Rahugana, who offended Jadbharata, great devotee of the Lord, but he asked for forgiveness and therefore he was forgiven. He did not have to suffer for that. And for the example of Lord's will, then there is example of Bharat Maharaj himself. And Priyavrata is also same. It was Lord's desire. So this is what he is replying now. That accepting the king's statement and yet answering. So he says now, Yarhi Vaveha Rajan sa Rajputra Priyavrata Param Bhagavato Naradasya Charanop Sevaya Anjasa Avgat Paramarth Satatva. So he says that this prince Priyavrata, he is called here as a Rajputra, means he was a prince. He was not old, he was a young fellow. Usually young people do not take to spiritual life because they have too much energy and powerful senses and desire to enjoy, because naturally the senses want to enjoy. So this Priyavrata, he said that he was a Param Bhagavata. He was a very great devotee of Krishna. And this is Naradasya Charanup Sevaya. He was very much devoted to Sri Narada, doing personal service to him. And because of this Anjasa Avagat Paramarth Tattva, because of service to his Guru, then very easily and quickly he became realized in the tattva, in the reality. So that means he had no doubt in his mind what is life about, what is the purpose, what he wants to do in his life. Absolutely no confusion, illusion, doubt about that. So what did he decide? Then he obviously decides to dedicate his life only for bhakti and nothing else. So that is called here as Brahmasatrena Dikshishyamana. So he decided to remain engaged in Brahmasatra. Satra is long sacrifice, yajna is called Satra, and Brahmasatra refers here to devotion to God, that he will spend all his life only in devotion, nothing else. So he took Diksha in that. Diksha means he took the resolve. When one takes Diksha, then one takes a resolve that I will follow this path. That is the meaning of Diksha. So this is what he did. And Avnital Paripalanaya Amnata Pravar Gun Ganayikanta Bhajanataya Swapitropi Upamantrita. So his father, he saw that he is a young boy and he has all the good qualities to be a ruler. So this was a problem for him, because to be a king, one has to be free from any personal motives. That is the character of a king. It's not a job, something to enjoy or lord over others. It's a very big responsibility. And if one has a big responsibility, then one has to sacrifice one's own life for that. So basically, to be a king is a very big sacrifice, because that person has to care for the welfare of so many people. It's difficult to bother about one's own welfare, and to care about a whole kingdom. It's a huge responsibility. So just as parents have responsibility for the children, a guru has a responsibility for the students. Similarly, king has responsibility for his subjects. So these are not ordinary responsibilities. And Bhagavatam is very clear on this. He says one should not become a guru, one should not become a father or a mother or a teacher or a king if one cannot take care of the dependents. So now this thing is forgotten, that this is actually a responsibility. So he saw that this boy has pravara gun ganai kanta bhajanataya. He has very wonderful character. He is very humble and unselfish and controlled in his senses, very compassionate. So he saw all these characteristics, and therefore he was asked by his father that you please relieve me from this responsibility now and take the kingdom. His father is Manu, son of Brahma, and he swapitro pamantrito. But what did he do? Now this is the most interesting thing, that he refused, which is usually not heard of in the Vedic culture, that your father is asking something and you say no to it. So we read so many stories that how in Vedic culture the students are devoted to the teacher, the children are devoted to the parents. But there are certain examples of this, and we have example of the Kumaras in the very beginning, how they refused to Brahma, and here we have example of Priyavrata, who refused to son of Brahma, his own father, Manu. But this refusal has a higher reason. People refuse because they have their personal agenda to enjoy materially. Mostly they refuse. So why have to care? I have my life to live. Many times people say, well, I have my life to live. Why have to spoil my life for my parents? And so if you say, well, they are your father, he says, so what? I didn't ask them. Right? I think the logic modern man gave, they gave birth to me. I didn't ask them. They gave, it's their headache. They have led their life. I want to lead my life. So this is what they will say. But Priyavrata was not like that. He thought that this responsibility will be a big obstacle to my devotion to Krishna. He says, Bhagavati Vasudeva eva avyavadhana samadhi yogena samavahit sakal karak kriya kalapa. All his senses, his mind, his speech, everything was already engaged in the service of Krishna. So he thought, how is it possible that now I can take out my senses from Krishna and use them for these activities? So here it is very clearly said that Bhagavati Vasudeva, Vasudeva is Krishna, eva avyavadhana samadhi yogina. He was in complete state of trance without any break. Vyavadhan means there is a break, but avyavadhan means continuous. That means his mind was absolutely fixed on Krishna, and there was no break at all that he had any other thoughts or anything else. This is the meaning of samadhi. Samadhi means when you actually don't even know your own existence, you become so absorbed. The mind is just on one object, and the object of meditation and the meditator, they practically fuse because of this intense absorption. So that's how he was. So he says that all his kriya kalap, every action he performed was only for Krishna. So therefore he says, Naiv Abhyanandat. So he did not appreciate his father's order. And he says, my dear Papa, you have to look for somebody else. So usually people are happy that if they can become the king, they are vying for it. Politicians spend so much time, money, energy, canvassing to take the post, and he is getting it freely. He refuses. So this is possible only when someone has something higher than what he is getting. Otherwise, this is very attractive to be a king. People even speak, I am the king of my own little kingdom. So he did not tad apratyam natavyam tad adhikarane atmano anyasmad asato api parabhavam anviksham. So he clearly says that his order was undeniable. He did not deserve to deny the request or order of his father. Because Manu himself is a great devotee. He is not an ordinary person. He is the father of mankind. He is the first human being. He was directly ordered by Brahma and given in charge of earth. So that Manu is asking. And he is asking because he has an order from Brahma. He is not also just having his own fancy. He is following his authority. And Brahma is son of Vishnu. He is following Vishnu's order. So ultimately it is order of Vishnu only what he is asking. So therefore he says that it was not a request or an order which was worthy to be denied. Yet Priyavrata did it. So in such a situation, one's intelligence is tested. What one will do, like Krishna was testing Arjuna when he caught Ashwatthama and he brought him. So before Arjuna left, Ashwatthama had killed 5 sons of Draupadi at night while they were sleeping. And when Draupadi was wailing and crying and lamenting, then Arjuna said that I will give you solace by bringing the head of Ashwatthama, and you can step on the head and take bath. He said it himself. And then he brought Ashwatthama, tied like an animal, like you catch somebody with a rope, like a dog. So now this Bhima was saying, what are you doing? Kill this fellow. And Draupadi was saying, no, don't do that. And Krishna was saying that now you have to satisfy both. Because you had your word given to Draupadi, and Bhima is on your side. And he's saying also kill him. So decide what you have to. So sometimes you have a situation where both sides seem right. You don't know which one to drop and which one to take. So Priyavrata is a great devotee, he is absorbed in Krishna devotion, there is nothing equal to that. And he has his venerable father, he is such a great person, and very loving, kind, and also a devotee. If he was not a devotee, he could have said, well, I don't care, you are not even a devotee. But Manu himself is a great devotee. So there is a story that how Manu once was meditating and he was protected by the Lord. So he says that therefore his tad apratyamnatavyam, that what he had asked was not worthy to reject. Tadadhikarane. So why did he reject it? He gives the reason. He says that he thought that if I take this kingdom, then Atmano Anyasmad Asato Api Parabhavam Anvikshmani. He could foresee that if I took this position, I will become controlled by desires, anger, all these unwanted things. Because then I have to have desire that I have to keep this kingdom running, and I have to have ministers, spies, army, police, court, treasury. These are all the important departments. And if people don't listen, then I will become angry. And Krishna says, Kamesha Krodhesha Rajagun Samudbhava Mahasano Mahapapma Viddhenam Vairinam. That this karma, this desire and anger, this is the enemy. And Vairina Jnanino Nitya Vairina, it is the eternal enemy of Jnani, of a wise person. So he says, why shall I get into this trouble? So, Prakshalanadhi Pankasya Duradaspasnam Varam. There is saying in Sanskrit that instead of putting your foot in the mud and then washing it, avoid the mud. Don't put your foot into it. So he says, I take the kingdom, then I forget, and then I have to repent and do something to come back to my state of devotion. I don't want this messy affair. So he flatly refused. So this situation. So let's read the commentary by Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti. It says, Priyavratasya Atmaramatvam Atpattikam eva. He says that Priyavrata was Atmarama, he was naturally Atmarama. He was actually born as a devotee by his birth. That was the meaning of Atpattikam. Sri Narada Kripya Paramam Bhagavatam Sri Brahma Agya Garasthyam Chahayari. And by the grace of Narada, he became a Param Bhagavata. So Atmarama means that right from his childhood, he did not have any material interest. He was introvert. No interest in playing with toys or with friends. He was very much meditative type. And then he met Narada, who taught him Bhakti. So now he became more wonderful. He became Atmaram and Brahma. And then by the order of Brahma, he became family person. This is being described here. Vaviti evarthe yarhi eva priyavrata swapitra avnital pratipalanaya upamantrite. Says when his father asked him to protect the earth and become the king, niyuktopi tata naiva bhyanam. He didn't like that at all. He just did not appreciate it. Tada Brahma swabhavanad avtatare tiyam. So at that time Brahma, he descended from his own abode. This is the relation with the next. It will come in the next one. Anjasa sigram satatvam tattvam. So very quickly, by the grace of Brahma, he understood the reality. Brahmasatrena Atmadhyanena Dikshishyamana. And he was initiated in Atmadhyana or meditation on the Lord. Diksham Prapshan Atah Param Satchidananda Matram Tadvastu Tadeva Anubhavniyam Natu Prakritam Kimapi. So the Diksha, the meaning of his Diksha was that from now onwards I only want to experience that Satchidanand reality and nothing else, nothing material. Iti sankalpena niyamam kartum buddhyata. So he was initiated in this. This was his resolve, his fixity of mind. This was his principle. Tatakshanaeva pitra manuna amnata ragyam shastranuktaye pravaragana. So when he had this idea to be making this resolve, his father asked him, because he saw the wonderful qualities in him. Ye pravara gunas tesam ganasya ekant bhajantaya niyat ashriyattvena hetu. So all the wonderful qualities were existing in Priyavrata. So then he said like this, Hey Priyavrata. So, O Priyavrata, he said, Samprati tvam avnim palaya. Now please rule over the earth. Iti upamantritas tannabhi. When he was asked like this, he did not like this at all. Swasya bhadram amanyata iti nechyati. Why he did not like? Because he saw that he will be in trouble if he accepted this. And therefore, he did not desire this. Kutaha bhagavati. Why he did not desire? What was the problem for him? So he says, Avyavadhana samadhi yogena nirantar chitta kyagrena samyak niveshita saklanam karkanam indriyanam vyapara samubhoyena. Says his mind was completely fixed on the Lord by the meditation without any break, and all his senses were absorbed or engaged in the service. Yadapi tat pitroktam apratyamanatavyam apratyakheyam tadapi naham rajyam karomi ti pratyakhatam. Says although it was not appropriate for him to disobey his father, yet he told him flatly, without any excuses. Could have also given some excuse, wait for some time, let me do this, let me do that. Nothing. He said straightforward, no, I don't want to rule. Kutaha, why is that? Tadadhikarane rajyadhikare atmane swasya anustaya sadhu bhutadapi kam krodade sakashat paravam. Because he saw that when he becomes engaged in this service, then he will get lost in various types of thoughts, various types of desires, and he says basically I will be defeated. He is using the word parabhavam, which means the defeat. He says my life will be a defeat. So what is the value? In Mahabharata there is a sloka, he says that Kularthe tajed ekam Gramarthe tajet kulam and Prithvi Desarthe tajet Prithvi Arthe tajet Desam Atmarthe Prithvim tajet. That to protect one's family one can sacrifice one member of the family. To protect a village you can sacrifice one family. Protect a kingdom, you can sacrifice one village, but to protect yourself, you can sacrifice the whole earth. That's most important. So he is basically sacrificing the whole earth He was supposed to rule all over the earth to protect himself. So he says that I don't want to see this defeat. But fate was different. There was higher power working behind. So when this thing was going on, because one side Narada was there and one side Manu was there. So father and Guru, many times there is a tension between the parents and the teachers. Guru says one thing and the parents say another thing. So this tension is there right from the beginning. So father was saying, take to the kingdom, and Narada was saying, just remain a devotee. Be in the ashram, save your head, be a brahmachari. So the Guru was saying. And the father was saying, come back, don't listen to these Babajis. They're just going to spoil your life and make you a beggar. So at that time Brahma came down and intervened. When he realized that Priyavrata he has refused to Manu. So Brahma thought that all my endeavor is gone. He has created this universe, and if Priyavrata does not take, then it is over. Because all these people, Narada, Kumara, they are already Babaji type, wandering. So everybody wants that their party should increase, right? Family people want there should be family people, and sadhus, sannyasis, swamis, yogis, they want there should be more members in their party. So this trouble is always there. So in India, when some sannyasi, some sadhu comes into some family person's house, they receive him very nicely, right? They will receive him nicely, they will pay obeisances to him, give him food and some donation also. They have so much respect for him, and they will say, Maharaj, your life is successful. You have made your life successful. We are all these worms here in this family life. They will have all this dialogue. And now if their own son says that I want to go with this Swami, then he says, what? Are you crazy? Who will look after the business? What will happen to me in my old age? Then they will start. So they are happy when somebody else becomes a Swami, not their own son. So that's what we see here. So atha Bhagavan Adideva etasya gun visargasya paribhrahnan anudhyana vyavasit sakal jagad abhipraya atmayoni akhil nigam nijgan pariveshtita swabhavnad avatatara. So at that time, just at that time, Brahma, he descended from his own planet Brahmaloka or Satyaloka, being surrounded by his associates. So why did he come? So he is called here as Adi Deva. He is Bhagavan, he is the most powerful person, an original Deva. And Gun Visargasya Paribhrahman, Anudhyana, Vyavasit. Because he is always worried about increasing the population. That is Brahma's job, because he is creator. So those who have creative energy, they want to create all the time. That is their pleasure. Some people have destructive energy and they will take pleasure in destroying. They will drop some bomb somewhere and they are very happy. Like Brajeswar was telling that when there was World War II and it came to over and Americans were leaving Germany, they still had some bombs. So while leaving, they were just dropping them. They were very happy to do that because that's how they are trained. So some people take pleasure in creation, some people take pleasure in destruction. So Brahma he takes pleasure to create, to increase, to expand. More the merrier. So therefore he says that guna visargasya paribrannana anudhyana vyavasita. That his mind, his thoughts are always absorbed how to increase the universe. More and more people, more population, then he is happy. So Sakal Jagat Abhipraya, and he knows the. So how did he come to know about Manu and Priyavrata? That means he is very much concerned. So he says he knows the mind of the people. Sakal Jagat Abhipraya, he knows everybody's mind. Sitting in his own place, he has got all these cameras fitted everywhere. So therefore he came Vimanavali Bhir Atmayonir Akhil Nigam Nijgan Parivest. So he was surrounded by the Vedas personified. Nigam is another word for Veda. And whoever his main associates are the Vedas, because he is the Vedic master of Vedic knowledge, and especially Karma Kanda part of the Vedic knowledge, because he is very much. Karma Kanda is that which increases. Jnana Kanda puts a break. So then he came down to the earth. अतः ततश्च आदिदेव ब्रह्म गुण विसर्गस्य जगत सृष्टे परिबृंहणं समृद्धि तदनुचिंत्य व्यवसित. So at that time Adideva, the original Deva Brahma, who is very much thoughtful about increasing the creation, Vyavasita Sakal Jagatam Abhipraya, and therefore he knows the intention, the mind of every being here. यथा राज्ञा चारहि मंडलेश्वराणाम अभिप्रायो निश्चीयते तद्वद अखिलैः निगमैः मूर्तिमत् भिर्वेदैः निजगणैश्च मरीच्यादिभिश्च परिवृतैः. So just as a person or a king, he knows the news through his spies. One of the very important department for every ruler, if they want to rule properly and remain in their power, is to have spies. So they have to know if someone is plotting against them or something wrong happening. So just as a king knows through the spies, like that Brahma knows by his own intelligence what is happening. So he came there being surrounded by the Vedas personified, and by his other associates, his sons like Marichi, Atri, Vasistha, all these 10 sons. They were also there. Parivrata iti priyavratam prati updeshtavya dharme pramanikarartha. Why did he come? He came to give instruction to Priyavrata in the matter of dharma. Satyaloka Davtirna, he descended from Satyaloka, Bhutalam iti on earth, he says so. So now he gives a little bit of history. Says Tatra Priyavratam Balyam Arabhya eva Viraktam Grihat Nirvidya Vane eva Kritvasam Gyatva Tadagya Kanishtopi Uttanapado Rajam Chakar. Say that Priyavrata, right from his childhood, he was very renounced. And therefore he left his home and he was living in the forest. And for this reason his younger brother Uttanpada was made the king. And he had ordered this himself. He says, you become the king. Otherwise Priyavrata should have become the king in the first place. So Uttanpada therefore became the king and ruled. Tadvansyascha prachetaha paryantam yatha samyam. And then the descendants of Uttanpada, they ruled, which was described in the previous two cantos up to Prachetas. So we know that Uttanpada had two sons, Dhruva and Uttama, and then Dhruva's son was there, and their son, and then we had Prithu Maharaj coming in the same dynasty. And then we had Prachin Barhi and his sons Pracheta. And then Pracheta's son was Daksha. He had only one son, Daksha. So he is now trying to relate all that. Because we also said, we read the story of Daksha, who was son of Brahma at that time. Yatha samyam rajyam chakrur. So they ruled. Evam cha swambhu manvantarasya ardhadapi adhika kalo gachati. So in this way, more than half of Swambhu Manvantar was passed. One Manu rules for 71 yoga cycles. When one cycle of Satyuga, Treta, Dwapar and Kali passes, that is called one Chaturyuga, and when 71 of them have passed, then the Manu changes. So the first Manu is Swambhu Manu, son of Brahma. So all these people were ruling, and more than half of his period was gone. So more than 35 or 36. And then the Prachetas came up to that time. Prachetso Dakshastu Swambhu Manvantrayeva Labdha Janma. So Daksha was first son of Brahma. And then he had this big trouble with Shiva. His head was cut off by Veerbhadra, then he got a goat head. And then he ruled and then he died. So this all happened in Swambhu Manvantara. And then he takes birth again from Prachetas, again in Swambhu Manvantara. Paru Bhavik Ashwarya Kamnaya Tapse Jagam. Now he should rule. Then there was no problem for Priyavrata. Priyavrata got into trouble because Daksha did not take the kingdom. But he went to do austerities in the forest because he wanted his opulence back, what he was before, and the chief of the Prajapatis. So because he wanted that, therefore he did not take the kingdom. And that's why Manu has to come to Priyavrata. So that means all this time Priyavrata was living in the Himalayas. Tatascha arajakam viksha, therefore seeing anarchy, manurupayantra manaloche, not seeing any other solution, viraktam api priyavratam vanad aninisam api anetum yada nasasaki. So then he approached Priyavrata, who was renounced and living in the forest, with the desire to bring him back to the kingdom. But Priyavrata refused. So at that time Brahma came there. And Brahma will preach to Priyavrata. And Priyavrata has to listen to him. Brahmaya agatya Priyavratam rajye pravartyamasa. So now he tells a little bit more story. Tatascha panchama manvantara paryantam kramena Priyavratasya tadvansanam ragyam cha adhikara. So then the descendants of Priyavrata, they ruled up to the 5th Manvantara. So this was already the first Manvantara of Swambhu Manu. And then there is Tamas and 3 more Manvantaras will come. Raivat, Tritiya Chaturth Pancham Manunam Uttama Tamas Raivatanam Priyavrat Putratva. So he had 3 sons, Uttama, Tamas and Raivata. So they ruled for 2nd, 3rd and 4th Manvantara. They became, his sons will become the Manus. And then Dutiya Manuho Swarochis api tadantapatat. The second Manu was Swarochis, who was not his son. So that is also included there. So second Manu was Swarochis, third was Uttam, son of Priyavrata, and then Tamas, and then Ravata. Both were sons. So up to fifth it will go, and then Daksha will take over in the sixth. Sixth he will come. Tat Manuputra Patradhyastu Priyavrata Eva. So their sons and grandsons and they were all descendants of Priyavrata. Rajya Akhandal Mandaleswar Rupa Rajanu Bhumi. So they were the emperors. Tatascha Sashthasya Chakshus Manvantarasya api arambhe tapso nivrittena dakshena prajasrishti. Then the sixth Manvantara was the Chakshus Manvantara. Chakshus became the sixth Manu. And it is at the beginning of that Daksha came back. So that means Daksha performed austerities for second, third, fourth, fifth Manu, that long. And then he comes in the sixth one. So the story of Daksha then having 10,000 sons and then Narada making them devotees, this is actually in the sixth. This is the second Daksha, not the first one. So tatraiva tasya samrajyam cha yaduktam. So this is described later on. Chakshusetu antre prapte prak sarge kal viplute yasa sarja prajaishta sa daksho daivichodite. So it is described that how Daksha, he became the ruler in the Chakshus Manvantara. Chakshusasya manor pada vanshatvat tattat manvantar paryantameva swambhu manoradhikariti. So Chakshus Manu is also coming in the ones of Uttanapad. Therefore it says that the Swambhu Manu's rule happened up to 6 Manvantaras. And now at present we have the Vavasvat Manu, son of Vivaswan. So this is a little bit of history he has given. We'll stop here. So now there will be a dialogue between Brahma. Brahma will come and try to preach to Priyavrat to take to the kingdom. Yes.
So there are different dakshas, different Manvantaras.
And there are only 2 dakshas. One was son of Brahma.
Yeah.
That was in the very beginning. And then he took birth again and again was named as Daksha.
Okay.
In the same Manvantara, but he is created in the 6th Manvantara.
So is the only daksha that we know that they cut his head in the same.
Yeah, his head was cut. Then he died his natural death.
Okay.
Or maybe he was not happy with the goat head. So how long he can go with the goat head? So he gave up his body and then he is born again in the normal head.
Again daksha.
Again Daksha, but without the powers which he had before. So to get those same powers, he went to perform austerities.
So he has some kind of memory of his.
Yes.
It seems that Priyavrata was a kind of yogi devotee, and if we compare to Yudhishthira Maharaj, was also a pure devotee but in action, ruling.
This is the instruction which is going to come. The usual idea of people in spiritual life in the olden days was that either you are a materialistic person or you are a spiritual being. Because in the Vedas mainly there are 2 parts. There is Karma Kanda and there is Jnana Kanda. Karma Kanda path of action, Jnana Kanda path of renunciation. So usually people only know these 2 schools. But Bhagavatam introduces a third school, which is the school of Bhakti. And that is the special characteristic of Bhagavatam. That's why the stories are coming like step by step like this. So all the time we keep on hearing that the kings are ruling, then they go away and get into their devotion. King Bharat will do that later on in this 5th canto. We read about Prithu Maharaj. So it still seemed to portray, although they were devotees even while they were ruling, but it still seemed to portray the idea that you have to give up. Even Pandavas, they gave up. Although they were ruling and they were devotees, but at the end they also gave up. But Bhagavatam is trying to counter that slowly, and then it will come to the 10th canto where they don't give up. Because in Bhakti, give up where? Everything is Vasudeva Sarvamiti. If everything is Vasudeva, where are you going?
But this Raja Janak, King Janak, he was completely devoted even while he was ruling.
Yes.
And so Priyavarta also could do the same thing.
Yeah, he will do the same thing.
Oh,
But in the beginning he is thinking, it's a problem.
Just to understand this, Uttanapat is the younger brother of Priyavrata. He ruled, but then already his descendants were ruling before Priyavrata was called back. So does
Yes.
it mean that he died before, he was living a shorter life than Priyavrata? Or did he live
It
longer?
doesn't say that he died.
Mm.
Maybe he also renounced and he went, said, I have done my job. And he may be also meditating. And he gave the charge to his sons. Because I don't think that it was described that he died. But when Dhruv Maharaj came back after having the darshan of Lord Vishnu, then he was very happy. And then he installs him, maybe not immediately. And then he retires. So then Dhruva rules for a long time. And then Dhruva had his children and whole line was described.
That means
So he may be living somewhere.
they must have lived really long lives.
Yes.
How long is our Manvantara?
Manvantara, if you want to calculate, you multiply 4.3 million by 71.
Oh my.
So like 300 million years.
300 million years. Human years.
You don't miss one.
300 millions.
Yes.
Yeah, very nice wrinkle or something.
So we are, since then we are here, 300 million years.
And you can be here if you like.
3 months.
No problem. Okay. Hare Krishna.